Hey there, baseball fans. Nathan Rohde and Shooter Hunt here with the latest episode of Coffee and Curveballs. Shooter, you and I got out this past weekend. You were in Las Vegas. I was in Virginia. Tons of action to see.
Yeah, the Vegas event was outstanding. We had some real draft prospects, not just high school, but also some JUCO guys that were fun to watch.
Yeah, they certainly did. And I was up in Virginia for the Virginia DC State Games. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But let's start with the event in Las Vegas. Big time facility. Obviously, a very sunny day for you guys. Stark contrast to what I had. But let's start with those Nevada high school bats. And it sounds like Tyler Whittaker, an Arizona recruit, had a huge day.
Yeah, we've known about Whittaker for a while. A couple of years ago at the underclass area codes, looked at him as more of a pitcher, and then he went off some loud contact. That was the one thing I took away is this kid can swing it, and when it comes off the barrel, it jumps. And there was a lot more of that. Probably the biggest thing that stood out, he's 6'4", wide-shouldered, supreme athlete, ran a 6'5", 60. I actually had him on the hand time at 6'4", 7", but can really run 190 pounds. He's going to add a ton more strength, but it was effortless juice off the barrel. He worked easily, gap to gap, was up to 102 plus miles per hour with 391 max distance. There's much more in the tank. Had a couple hits throughout the game. But he's a really good looking athlete from the outfield. He went to shortstop. He can hop on the mound. We've seen in the past into the low 90s, but definitely going to be a draft guy that's scouts there. And there were 65 MLB scouts at this event. We're locked in on there.
Yeah, that's pretty big time. So, but you got a few more hitters that stood out as well, and Vina, Jacob Walsh, and Mason Neville. What did those guys show for you on the day?
Yeah, Vina was probably the biggest eye opener for me. I hadn't seen him in person. He's from Reno, so he came down to Vegas, headed south for that. He's a Nevada recruit, but was excellent at the plate. Loved the bat speed. Ball jumped off the barrel, 101 with exit velocity, but super balanced there. Kind of looks like one of those sleepers in a quality Nevada class for draft-wise this summer. I think he definitely impacted a lot of those scouts' minds throughout the day. Jacob Walsh, big guy from Desert Oasis, who I've seen a couple times earlier on before he was committed to Oregon, was a big fan. He's gotten even more physical, 6'4", 215, and he's all a 6'4", big power bat from the left side. Ran a 6'9", which helps show his athleticism, but 103 plus off the bat, hitting the ball 388, showed off that big power potential to the pull side, and a quality athlete as well. And then Neville is just a 22, but he has definitely put himself on the map. And when you got 65 pro scouts and some decision makers there, they're not going to forget who he is, especially after he runs a 6'5". He's a left-handed hitter, twitchy at the plate. You could have built a case for him to have been the best player at this event. So going into the next year with that speed, can he stick in center field? He's got power potential with that twitch. He's definitely a guy to be thinking about over the next, let's say, 20 plus, 24 months, looking towards 22.
Excellent. And of course, there were some arms on display. No shortage of velocity for you throughout the event, high school and junior college-wise. But Tanner McDowell was a guy that stood out for you. We saw him at area code games. It's a real electric arm. That ball comes out well, and it sounds like it's exactly what it was doing for you.
Yeah, I was talking to Brett Harrison, did a great job, our scouting director there in Nevada, about McDougal. I'm like, ooh, this kid's good. He's like, yeah, you saw him at area codes, but it's been so long now. We saw so many guys there. It's like, oh yeah, I sent you those notes. I liked him there as well. But McDougal hops on the mound. He's 90 to 94. It's jumping out of the hands. He was actually up close to 2,600 RPM with the fastball. All stretch. Showed some aptitude for the spin. Wasn't a banger at all times, but went behind the plate, saw it tightly spun. Also showed some feel for a changeup, but I love the athleticism. He's got room to add weight to both the upper and lower half. I think he's going to throw harder. It's one of those guys where you look at the metrics and they all shine on this is something we can work with. And I think that the more of those teams, and they have shown the fact that they love to look at the TrackMan stuff, his data is going to be really special for them as a guy that they want to work with. He'll have a chance to rise throughout the spring. Dimitri Diamant is just a 22, super polished, a two-way guy. He's committed to Georgia Tech. Really good job by the Yellow Jackets going in there. But he already looks like a starter profile. 3 pitches. He's up to 90, but most of the fastballs he threw were two seams. But he showed the ability to spin a breaking ball for a strike, changeup. He's just kind of it's a higher floor for him right now where he's going to have a chance to be a two-way guy. And then Chris Cortez, who Rhodey is actually a teammate of Tanner McDougal.
Oh,
He was up to 96, so it's some real heat. And from talking to Brett, these guys were piggyback throughout the year, the last couple of years on their high school team. So that's a lot of cheese in that game coming.
how many
But up to
state
96
championships do they have?
Oh man, it's tough to win the state there though.
It
in
is
Nevada. I was
very
talking to
tough.
some guys. It's not easy. But Cortez starts the day running a 6.6. He's committed to Arizona as a two-way. So I talked to him like, hey, if you can run, get out there, show that athleticism. Oh yeah, 6.6. Then he hops on the bump. He's up to 96. And the thing about him, the spin was more average and developing right now. And even looking at the metrics, he's throwing 96, and it's almost raw. Like there's a lot more that he can get out of the tank there, which I think sets his ceiling a little bit higher. 6'1", 185, but I really like the future for him.
Excellent. And then the College of Southern Nevada also had a handful of guys there, bats and arms. No shortage of velocity, like we said before, but with the bats, it sounds like the velocity for them was also pretty big time. I was looking at some of the numbers with you, and the exit velocities and distance, sounds like the ball was absolutely flying out of that ballpark.
They're stacked, and it was great talking with Coach Garitano throughout the day. It's a great program. Their whole staff is outstanding, and obviously they have a long track record and history of being successful. But yeah, you talk about those bats. Wind's blowing in. The end of the night gets super windy. It's cold. The wind's blowing all over the place. These guys didn't care. They came out and balled out. But Dax Fellows was one of the bats that I took away. Shortstop. Loved the way the hands worked. Again, cold night. He had a couple tough hops, but fielded them. Looked like a SoCal shortstop to me. And then he steps up to the plate. He's working gap to gap with some real high exit velos, 97 on the average. He was up to 105. And it's just a simple approach, just spraying, working gap to gap, mature. But it was every bat that stepped up. It was like, who's going to hit it harder? Austin Plante, a Texas kid who I'd seen a couple of years ago, teammates with Brett Beatty. He's back there. I think the college coaches, I was getting a lot of texts after this event with those guys who are going to have a chance. And that's just the bats. Rody, the arms have a chance to be real special. They go up against any D1 program right now and challenge them head to head for talent. It really is a special group, and each guy, one after another, was throwing harder. They were all, again, it was really cold and windy, but these guys are 93, 94, 95, 96, guys 96 plus. The one that I took away was Chris Bowe. He's a Nevada kid, just comes out 92 to 96, really pumping, 23, 29 RPM on the average, but the slider's the separator for him. I think he has a chance to be a plus pitch. He tunneled it well. Really looking forward to seeing him in games. He's 6'3", 210, and that's the thing with these CSN guys. They were all very well built. They got a good strength program there. But each one of those guys, I mean, Josh Swales hopped on the mound, was playing catch at 95 and 96. Cuevas, I mean, he started the day off that fastball changeup. Shoot, they got a bunch of guys who could be top 3 rounders easy.
Excellent. So that's a good look at the stuff that you saw in Las Vegas. I myself went up to Virginia for the Virginia DC games. I was at the Lynchburg Hillcats Stadium, but we also had a segment going on at Liberty University. Hearing you talk about the wind and the cold, I just kind of roll my eyes because it was about 46 to 48 degrees and rainy and misty kind of all day for us. So not the best of environments for baseball, but to the kids' credit, high energy all day. They were there, good attitudes. So it was great to see that. They wanted to play, and they were happy to be there. But some of the bats that stood out, we got a couple of guys. Griffin O'Farrell, UVA recruit, really liked the way that his hands worked in PP. Lots of hard line drives. Ended up only getting one at bat in the game. And just had a tough at bat and just got beat on a fastball. But yeah, in BP, really liked the way the hands work. And then Henry Cook, a Virginia Tech recruit, holy cow, man!
The Cookie Monster.
The Cookie Monster. They were yelling it from the dugout. I can't take credit for that nickname, but it's quiet, it's balanced, and it's strong. He smoked a double in the game. His average exit velocity in the BP was around 91. Again, remember, it was really cold. So a lot of stuff, you can expect to be better when it's actual good baseball playing weather.
Yeah, he was at the Future Games. I was a big fan of him there. He was actually banged up a little bit at the Future Games. I want to say it was like an ankle he had rolled, something like that. But obviously physicality, just a good job behind the plate, big arm strength. But another good get for Virginia Tech.
Indeed. And then some arms were interesting as well. Again, Cold weather, throw the velocity out the window. We don't care about that right now, especially it's also kind of the end of the year. But Andrew Schaffner, for me, was a big winner. NC State recruit. It's loose, easy, and athletic. The arm is quick. He was 87, 89, bump 90 if you want to round up that TrackMan number. But he was up to 25, 50 on the spin rate, averaging right around 2,400. 76, 78 slider. It was sharp and it was late. Wow. Shooter, I know you like Bauer units. 30 Bauer units for Schaffner there. He also laced some balls in BP. He had 99 mile an hour exit velo, hit one about 371 feet. So we're looking at a pretty good athlete there. And then a Tennessee recruit, Bradley Gagan, left-hander. Again, throw the velo out the window, 82, 84. There's more to come. It's athletic, it's projectable, but really it was the curveball that stood out for me. It was sharp, it was late, it had that kind of that 1 to 7 to 2 to 8 break to it. So good-looking arm for there.
Awesome. Another great weekend all around. We're going to have some more stuff coming up next week, too, from some other events. We can only jam so much into this one.
Certainly so. But there you have it, a look at Las Vegas with the Nevada Procase and College of Southern Nevada and then the Virginia and DC State games. Stay tuned to PrepBaseballReport.com for plenty more coverage. And as always, for Shooter Hunt, I'm Nathan Rohde. This was Coffee and Curveballs. And until next time, we'll see you guys at the ballpark.